Okay. All right. Thank you for joining us. Brent Wagner, let's start with you.
Yeah, John, can you just walk us through the timeline for Friday, how quickly you went from we're playing a match at 6 to a match is postponed? The two matches are postponed.
Well, we all tested in the morning at, I can't remember, was it 9 o'clock maybe, in Northwestern included. We were told that there was a positive, so I was talking with Shane, their coach, about contingency plans if she were to test positive on the second test, and that test, we had to drive up to Omaha. They processed it. We heard back like at 4 o'clock that it was positive, and we had to cancel the match. So Shane and I have been talking all day, and we were also preparing, what happens if we started the match and we found out the result later, what we would do and so on. So that was kind of the whole day. And 4 o'clock, it was shut down by the Big Ten, the doctors, and everybody who makes those decisions.
So this wasn't a situation where the coaches could decide based on position availability. It was straightly Big Ten makes the call.
Yep, and apparently Northwestern has, or Evanston and Illinois have different rules than Nebraska, so they have to follow their state rules and county rules and city rules or whatever. So this was a decision made by the doctors and the, government people who make those decisions.
Lincoln R. Neal.
Coach, they used the terminology postponed for the Northwestern matches. What are your thoughts about getting that rescheduled, and what are your appetites about playing 3 or 4 matches in a week?
I don't think that's going to happen. I think when they reschedule, it's going to be like what Michigan State and Ohio State did last 2 days. They both were supposed to play Michigan and Penn State, who are not playing, so they got together and played. We were actually trying to get Michigan State. As soon as Northwestern canceled, we were talking to the Big Ten about playing Michigan State. So that's how the postponements are going to be made up. It's the easiest way to do it. I don't see us playing 4 matches in a week. There's no way.
Are those conversations happening at the school level with the conference, or what is the arrangement of kind of figuring out how those matches are going to be made up or rescheduled?
Yeah, that's the Big Ten running that show and talking with our administrators here.
Kevin Suits.
So what did you guys do then, John, this past weekend with no matches all of a sudden?
Friday we just let them go because I think they were in shock and disbelief. And then Saturday we practiced and tried to create a game-like scrimmage just so we would, continue to. We're still figuring out how to go through warm-ups and routines and all that because we haven't, it's been over a year since we've done it. So we just kind of simulated a game day and played a inter-squad match, and that was Saturday. And back to normal routine this week.
John, how do you describe the impact of losing those 2 matches for the development of your team? Because you get started and then all of a sudden you stop. And I know that's kind of the way that this is going to go this year. But how do you describe the way that maybe this affects the schedule that you had for your team in terms of getting their performance to peak as the season goes along?
Yeah, we definitely need to be playing matches. You get better every time you play. Any coach will tell you that. Fortunately, we can create a pretty good situation in our gym that's pretty competitive, which has been really nice. But still, it's different nerves, different team, it's different environment. So playing matches is really, really important. And how does that affect us? I don't know. It's an 11-week season. What's more worrying is like Northwestern now. If they're shut down for 3 weeks, half the season's over by the time they get to play again. Penn State and Michigan are going through that now. So that's the big nightmare right there. And I'm sure when Fred comes up here, being off 20 days is just, wow, I can't even, it's hard to even imagine that.
Andrew Ward.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, John, have you talked to Fred at all about what their experience is, and how much
Yeah.
does that worry you in general?
Yeah, I pretty much have been checking in with them all, every day, every other day, just trying to learn and what they're doing, how they're approaching all this, how to prevent from getting it. And so, yes, and every coach is worried about something happening or having an outbreak. So we're doing everything we can and try to educate them and try to be safe, and you just hope for the best.
Jacob Padilla.
Coach. I know Maryland's actually got all 4 matches in. Looks like their blocking numbers have been pretty decent. They took Ohio State to 5 sets twice. What have you seen from them, and what kind of challenges they'll present to you, especially coming off this break that you guys are having?
Yeah, they're a big physical team. They play their outside hitters all the way around, so they have probably the most back row attack of anybody I've seen in a while. They set a lot of back row attack in transition. They've got some physical hitters, really a couple great players, Pritchard and the other middle. I can't remember her name right now, but they've been there for a couple years. They're older, they're more experienced. Their coach has been there a little bit longer now, so they're an up-and-coming team, and it's a Big Ten match, and they have an advantage on us that they have played 4 matches. They've been in 5 gamers, both 5 gamers with Ohio State, which is great, and so it's Big Ten, baby.
Lincoln Arneal.
How much is there any concern knowing that Northwestern they're in the Devaney Center and there was conversations that were happening? What kind of protocols were in place to make sure that even when matches aren't played, that there's not any cross-contamination going on between the programs?
The only things, we don't practice at the same time, so we're not there. We didn't sterilize the balls because the player who tested that's why we test early in the morning. She tested positive, so she got isolated right away till they knew officially what the deal was. So there's no contact, no cross-contamination. We just have to keep our coaches away from their coaches, and that's probably the biggest challenge.
Brent Wagner.
Yeah,
That's
how did your players?
That's because some of our coaches know their coaches, so that's we have to maintain social distance there. Yeah, what was your question, Brent?
How did your players handle the reaction of the
Not well. They were in disbelief. They didn't believe me. They thought we were playing a joke on them.
So they weren't aware during the day that there was some question about it. It was just at that moment you told them.
We didn't tell them because we didn't want them messing with their minds on that. And again, when we were at Indiana had a player test positive, but later was negative, so it was a false positive. So with these rapid tests, there's a higher percentage of false positives. So we were hopeful that she would be, end up being negative and we could play. So I didn't say anything to our team, but it was almost a riot in the ready room when I told them.
So what time was the decision made?
It was around 4 o'clock. Our players were here getting taped and doing their stuff, and that's when it was called. Northwestern was already here. They were in the locker room, getting ready to come out and do their serve and pass before the match. So, everybody was dressed up and showing up at the party, but then the party got canceled.
Kevin Suits.
So, John, how do you navigate this weekend then? Because I'm sure Friday's going to maybe have a different feel for the girls when they come to the Devaney in hopes of playing again. You have to kind of go through your speech and your protocols and everything that you were going to do this past weekend and do it all over again? Or do you kind of take a different approach knowing that they might have some guarded hearts about what's about to happen?
No, I think I've been prepping them for a year. You just got to take it day by day and hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And so we just stay in our routine. That's a big thing we're trying to do now. It's hard for them with school because they don't go to class anymore. And we're just trying to keep them in a routine, and a routine throughout the week and our routine leading up to matches. So I think they'll be excited to play. But now the reality is that, when you're in college, you don't ever think like, oh, it's going to happen, or it's going to get canceled. They don't think that way. And so now they know it can happen, and hopefully that helps them to be more urgent with them staying safe, and so we can have a season.
One more question from Lincoln Arneal.
Coach, how did you see that they kind of bounced back? You mentioned they were in disbelief on Friday, but when they came back on Saturday and then yesterday, how did you kind of assess where they were mentally, physically, ready to get back in the routine of things?
Well, Saturday was great. They were excited to play. We let parents come in and watch, so it kind of felt like a game because we had parents that traveled here, so we were able to do that. And then they were fired up in practice Monday. So, but this group's, I cannot remember. I think we've had one bad practice in the last year that I can remember. So this group loves to train. They love being in there. They want to get better, and so they've been pretty fired up.
All right, we'll stop here, and Coach Hoiberg will be up here in a couple minutes.
Okay, guys, thanks.